Hey y'all, today we're talking about something that is more southern than grits, and that is fried pies. Fried pies are considered to be kind of hard to make, but I'm gonna make it so easy that you'll be making these several times a week. Let's go over to the kitchen and see how it's done. All right, y'all, the first thing that we're gonna do is we're going to put peanut oil or whatever oil you're using in the in your frying pan. I'm going to be using this all-in-one cooker just to make it easier so I don't have to go back from the stove in here and everything. You're shallow frying this, so you're going to want to use about 1.5 tablespoons of oil per fried pie that you're making, okay? And you're going to want to just let that heat up to about 300 degrees. You just want a good frying temperature. If it was deep fried, you'd want it at 375. But since we're not deep frying, you just want a good hot oil that sizzles when you put your fried pies in so that they cook quickly and don't absorb the oil. So we've got that set and heating up. And I've already used it once for fried pies a little earlier today. So there's a few little crumbs in there, but normally you would be using a straight clean oil on that. I just wanted to explain why that oil looked like maybe it had been used, because it has. So what we're going to be using today, because we're going to be doing quick and easy fried pies, is we're going to be using pre-made biscuit dough from your refrigerator section, or you can get the frozen ones, whatever, but you want to, if they're frozen, you want to let them thaw out. You could use homemade biscuit dough, you can use pie dough, you can use the frozen unbaked biscuits. The reason that I prefer biscuits over pie dough is that they hold up better, so if you're gonna send them with your kids in their lunch, or you're gonna take them with your lunch or whatever, they're not gonna break apart and turn into crumbs. So that's why I prefer the biscuit dough, but you can use pie dough if you prefer, no problem. You can make your own, or you can buy it as I have here. The thing about it is making it with the pre-made biscuit dough makes this so fast and easy that you can have southern fried pies just whenever you want, okay? So I'm gonna set those aside for just a minute. And the other thing that I got to make this easier is a canned pie filling. Now, canned pie filling can taste kind of bland, and you don't want bland. So what I'm gonna be doing is I've got my pie filling, and I'm going to add bourbon. You don't have to add bourbon. You could add lemon juice or orange juice or any kind of something tangy. Lemon juice is probably best. You could add ginger ale, just something to give it another flavor dimension and just another layer of flavor in there, so it's not just straight sweet fruit. I'm using apple here, but I've used peach, you can use blueberry, whatever you like. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this fruit up into small bite-sized pieces, because when you're talking about a fried pie, you don't want to bite in and pull out a big old slice of peach or a big old slice of apple or whatever. Now, obviously, if you're doing blueberry or blackberry or something like that, there is no need to cut it up. But for apple or peach or anything that comes in slices like this, you want to cut it up in kind of bite-sized pieces. It just works better that way. Okay, now I've turned this into chunks, as you can see. It's not like mushy or it's not like applesauce, but it's just bite-sized chunks that are going in there. So once that's done, we're going to set that aside. And I'm going to spread a little flour on my board here. I usually use a lighter board over this one because it makes it easier for y'all to see with the light and everything. But since I'm using this hot thing, I don't want to mess up the other thing that I usually use. So we're gonna roll the biscuit dough out until it's about 1/8 of an inch thick. If you get it too thick, it will not cook all the way through. So you're gonna take your biscuit and you're gonna roll it out until it's about the size of a small saucer. How about that? Just to give you an idea, this is my hand, this is a bowl, and this is the biscuit. All right, and then I'm gonna set that aside. You don't want to roll one out and then add fruit to it, because the longer it sits, the fruit will make the biscuit dough gummy and it won't fry right. So roll them out before you add the fruit. And you're just gonna use flour as you need to keep it from sticking. They don't have to be beautifully rolled out, they just have to be rolled out. Now, if you notice that the biscuit dough gets dry and a little flaky and breaks apart like that, don't worry about it. It's gonna, when it gets fried, it'll fry right out. You don't even have to worry about it. It will not be noticeable. All right, you don't want to put more than 3 or 4 in a pan at a time, depending on the size of the pan, because if you overload the oil, it's going to cool down too fast. So I'm going to start with 4, which I think my cooker will handle, and I'm just going to put about 1.5 tablespoons, maybe 2 tablespoons of the fruit in the center of the crust that I've rolled out, the biscuit dough that I've rolled out. And sometimes, especially if the biscuit dough is very dry, you may need to rub a little water or egg white around the edge just to make sure it stays sealed. I don't think I'm going to need to, but I may. We'll see. Okay, you just fold that over. Now, if you overfill these, it's going to be bad because all of this stuff is going to goo out the top or the side or something. So you don't want to do that. You just definitely don't want to overfill it. Yeah, those are going to stick together just fine. And then you want to put just a couple of little holes in the top to vent it. And there is our first fried pie. It's very easy. Like that. So now I've seen some recipes that call for butter in with the oil. I have another way of getting that good buttery flavor on the fried pies. Please do not put butter in with your oil, because it is quite likely that if you're not super careful, and even if you are super careful, it is likely that the butter is going to scorch. And if the butter scorches, your pie is going to taste, guess what? Scorched. By the way, I'm pulling this edge off because it was kind of an ugly edge and I didn't want an ugly edge. I'm not going to put a hole in this because it looks like this has already made its own hole. So we're going to leave that like that. Anyway, putting butter in, the butter does not have a good smoke, it doesn't have a high smoke point, and it scorches very easily. So you want to leave the butter out and just use oil with a high smoke point, like peanut oil, which is my preference. But if you've got allergies or you're concerned about it at all for any reason, then any light vegetable oil will be just fine. Coconut oil, you know, whatever you usually use. Just make sure it has a high smoke point. You don't want to use olive oil. You don't want to use butter for sure. All right, so there's 4 of them. Put that in there. Maybe we will go ahead just in case. Okay, our oil is hot. I can smell it. It's about 1/4 of an inch deep in this fryer, and I'm going to very carefully put my fried pies in. Now, they should start sizzling immediately, which is what it is. And now you want to count to maybe 5 between each one. So that's been more than 5 because I talked. Here's the second one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That helps the oil come back up to temperature. Now it looks like I'm only going to fit 3 in there. So we'll leave them like that, and I'm going to fry them about 30 minutes, not 30 minutes, oh please don't. About 3 minutes on one side, then I'm going to flip them over and fry them about 3 minutes on the other side. Be very careful when you flip them over, because if that oil splashes on you, it's going to be hot. Now, when we take these out, we're going to drain them on absorbent paper towel or brown paper grocery bag, anything that's going to absorb the excess oil. Look how nice and golden brown that is. It'll look amazing. Careful, because it's going to be hot. And then we're just going to let those drain for just a minute. And while they're draining, we're going to melt some butter. Now, with the melted butter, we're just going to brush it on the top of each one while they're still very hot. That's going to give us that buttery flavor that we're looking for. And then we're going to take it, ooh, those are hot, and put it in a cinnamon sugar mixture, brush the other side, and flip it over. And you may need to add more cinnamon and sugar to it as you go along. Brush that side and turn it over. It just depends on how much ends up sticking and how much you end up wanting on there. And the last one is done. Let's break it apart and see what we've got on the inside. Ooh, look, baked or fried all the way through. We've got a nice soft dough and just a gooey middle, exactly what fried pies should look like. Just delicious. Let's take this over to the table. So wasn't that easy? How easy is it to roll out some biscuit dough and just fill it with pie filling and fry it? Takes 15 minutes at the most. And you've got these warm, delicious, gooey, sweet, sugary fried pies for lunch or dinner or just the best snack ever. I hope y'all will try these. I know you're gonna love them. Use any kind of fruit filling that you want. And be sure to go over to the blog at restlesschipotle.com for a lot of great tips and ideas about how to make these even better, okay? I'll see you then. Love ya. Bye-bye. So good.